You know, when most people think about like equestrian sports, they usually picture like graceful dressage moves, or maybe even those intense jumps you see in show jumping. But
Yeah.
have you ever heard of horse driving?
It's pretty amazing, actually. It's like the Formula One of the horse world, you know?
Yeah.
You've got athleticism, you need precision, and a whole lot of strategy all rolled into one.
Okay, yeah, I'm hooked already.
Okay.
So we're diving into the results from the syyskisata competition that was held in Ypäjä, Finland. And this wasn't just any competition, right?
Definitely not.
It was organized by Ypäjän Ratsastasha, which I hear is kind of a big deal for horse driving fans.
Absolutely, yeah. They're a big deal. They put together a really challenging event. I mean, the drivers and their horses had to get through 3 different tests.
Right.
Yeah. You've got dressage, of course, which is all about harmony and obedience between the horse and driver. Then there's the marathon, which is a real test of endurance, and it's got obstacles too. And then finally, you've got the cones.
Okay, so what are the cones all about?
It's all about accuracy and speed. Drivers have to navigate their horse through a course of cones, and they're against the clock. One little mistake can cost you the whole competition.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like it takes a lot to win in this sport.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
need a versatile horse, a skilled driver, nerves of steel, and probably a little luck, too. So where should we even begin with these results? Where do we start unraveling all this? Looking at this LK1 division, it's the novice level, right?
Right.
One name really jumps out. Ellen Bonchance. She wins the individual dressage test, but then she also nabs the overall win, the combined A plus B plus C.
And that's how you know you're looking at a real champion, you know? To keep that up, that level of like precision and control through all 3, the dressage, the marathon, the cones, that's incredible. Plus, you've got to remember her partner in all this, her horse.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And what a name, right? Don't you feel sick?
I know. It's just fun to say, Tuja Pilarsic. Okay, but it makes you wonder, though, those combined A plus B plus C standings, do they always tell the whole story? Because, like, in LK2, so that's the beginner level.
Yeah, beginner.
Seems like the marathon really shook things up.
Oh, for sure. LK2 is a close one.
Yeah.
Telma Rahala squeaked out the combined win. Yeah, but then you look at that marathon, Nidaleta just dominated that test.
Interesting. So to be really great in the marathon,
Yeah.
it's not enough to be fast.
Oh, wait.
You've got to pick the fastest routes through all those obstacles. You have to make decisions with your horse like that.
Exactly. Split-second decisions. So, yeah, I mean, it really makes you wonder, did Nita, like, take bigger risks on the course? Did she and her horse have a totally different strategy going into this?
It just shows you each of these tests needs such different skills.
Yeah, for sure. And it's those different approaches, you know, that's what makes these competitions so exciting. Speaking of which, did you see Johanna Serkier?
No. What happened?
Her scores, it's pretty interesting how she did, actually. She competed in multiple levels, which is already impressive.
Wow. Yeah.
But then on top of that, consistently high scores in dressage and marathon. Consistently.
Okay, but until the cones test, is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah.
Looks like those cone scores really hurt her overall ranking.
It's a good example of how crucial it is to be precise in that cones test. Even if you're almost perfect in the dressage and the marathon, you know,
All right.
you knock over just one cone, even a little. That's
Right.
penalty points. And those points, they can be the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah.
Each cone down adds seconds to your time, and those seconds, those can make or break you.
Every second counts. Especially when you see what Ben Simonson did in LK13.
Oh, yeah, LK13, the advanced level.
The advanced level. Talk about a comeback story. He wins the whole level after getting disqualified from that obstacle test before.
This is the thing, though he won, right? But he did it with 2 different horses, Dorado and Raggiogo.
2 different horses.
2 different horses. To be able to adapt like that, 2 different personalities, 2 different sets of strengths, that tells you everything you need to know about how good this guy is. The horsemanship, the trust he builds, it's something else.
It really makes you appreciate that bond, you know, between the horse and the driver.
Yeah.
But okay, before we get totally lost in all these amazing athletes, I need a little help with the numbers themselves. We keep talking about combined scores and individual tests. How does it all work? How does it all fit together? Okay, so we've been throwing around terms like A plus B plus C standings. But for those of us who, you know, maybe this is our first time really looking at horse driving, what are we actually looking at when we see those scores?
So basically, you've got those individual scores, right? And those tell you how the team did on each test, dressage, marathon, cones. But then you take those scores and you combine them, and that's your A plus B plus C. So that gives you more of a like overall picture
Right.
of how they did, in total. But it can be tricky, actually.
How so?
Well, you want the lowest score, right?
Yeah.
Always. That's the goal. But how they actually calculate that score, it's not always so simple.
Okay. So, give me an example.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm looking at a final time, the marathon results. What am I missing?
The penalty points.
Right.
See, in the marathon, it's not just go fast and finish. Drivers have to hit these gates, right, in order. And there are time limits. And each second you're over. Penalty points. And then they add those points to your final time.
So even if you have this super fast run, a few missed gates, a little time trouble that could really cost you.
Oh, absolutely.
And in the cones, that's got to be all about being super precise.
100%. If you even tap a cone, you get those penalty points. And those points, again, those can be what makes the difference between a podium finish and total disappointment. Yeah. It's accuracy for both of them, the horse and the driver. You need incredible communication and control.
So we're seeing how each of these tests, it's scored differently because each one demands something different.
Exactly.
So looking at the results from this Finnish championship, are there other things we can see in those scores that can tell us about the winners? What sets them apart?
Well, one thing that really stands out to me is how important it is to be adaptable, like we were talking about before with Ben Simonson.
Right, with 2 horses.
He wins LK13 with 2 different horses, which tells me he knows how to, change his driving depending on that horse's strengths. And that kind of adaptability, if you combine it with, consistently solid performance in all 3 tests, that seems to be the pattern with a lot of these champions.
It makes you wonder if it's strategic, then, to have different horses, right? One horse who's amazing at dressage, another one who just crushes the marathon. Is that something that people do at the top levels?
It's a great question. And, it's definitely not unusual to see drivers who kind of specialize, right, in one test or another. But when it comes to these championships, those drivers who really want that top spot, they usually look for a horse who can do it all, who's really versatile.
Makes sense.
It's about finding that horse, right? The one who has the temperament, but also the athleticism to handle all 3. And then, of course, building that partnership through training and trust.
It really all comes back to that, doesn't it? The horse and the driver. They have to be, in sync,
Mm-hmm.
Physically, but mentally, too. And I guess that's not something you can really see on a score sheet, is it? No matter how many details it has.
You said it. These results are like a window. They give us a peek into all the skills and the strategy that goes into this. But if you really want to get it, to understand horse driving, nothing compares to actually seeing that synergy between the horse and the driver firsthand.
And that, I think, is what makes these deep dives so amazing. We started with a list of results, and now look at us. We're talking about strategies and that connection between horse and driver, what it takes to be a champion. So to everyone listening, I hope you're as fascinated by this as I am now. But we've only just scratched the surface. If you want to go even deeper into horse driving, head over to horsedriving.org. There are so many stories behind these scores. Until next time, happy driving.